Charlie.
Daniel B.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm just laughing. How can I follow chocolate cake?
I know. It can't really get any better than that, really. I mean, who doesn't love chocolate cake?
That's an incredible start. I'm like, oh my God, how can I even live up to the possibility of any of the questions you're going to ask, or any of the thoughts, or any? I mean, it's just the pressure's real, Charlie.
The pressure is real. I thought I'd just slide you in gently, and you know, you have another introduction now. So here we go.
Oh dear.
Ready? Daniel B. International man of mystery, a publicist, a brand consultant, and communications expert. He has worked with everyone from Academy Award-winning actors and composers to working on hit theatre shows in the UK with Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber. He's also ran away with a circus when he was 17 and holds a world juggling record. Can't wait to talk about that. With a very strong knowledge as an activist and in the non-profit world, Daniel was also invited to be a member of BAFTA. He's also a published author and is working on his second book, and has worked with clients like Colin Firth, Hugh Hefner, and John Reed, the rock and roll manager of Queen Elton John. The owner of there's more. The owner of a gorgeous hotel in Morocco. He is also one of the hosts of our annual Burns Night celebration at the Fairmont Hotel. And I am thrilled that Daniel is here with us today. Please welcome, as we unveil the fascinating life of my wonderful Scottish guest, the James Bond himself, Mr. Daniel B.
Oh my God, Charlie, that was beautiful. Daniel. To be honest, I mean, I actually thought this was a revival of Beauty and the Beast. You know, I've obviously tuned into the wrong show. But it's, wow, thank you for all of that. I mean, I do believe most of that is true, but it feels a bit weird having it played back. Seems a bit weird.
It must be, because I mean, you have the most incredible resume. You've done absolutely everything. When you look back, how did this wee lad from Scotland have this incredible career?
Luck, hard work, and drunkenness. How about that?
Well, yeah. Can you remember any of it?
Oh God, no. I mean, if you ask me about the late 90s and the early noughties, I can't remember. So if I go,
noughties, did you say?
Exactly. No idea what happened then, but I'll do my best to dredge up a story or two. And actually, what's really lovely is I see some people coming in on here. It's just like, oh my God, Anna's there, and Yasmina's just come in, and Becky was there, and just seeing people like, really? You must have better things to do. And of course, Ross is there.
Rossi's here, yes, one of your besties. Yeah, I know, I love it. I'm waving to all your friends that are coming on here, and I'm thrilled that they're joining you, because honestly, I mean, which part, when I look at your career, I don't know where to start, because you have so many compartments to it. Where were you born in Scotland? That's what I want to know.
Edinburgh. The opposite side of the country from Mr. Ross King.
Yes.
The opposite side. 40 miles between Edinburgh and Glasgow, but it might as well be 400 miles, really. It's a huge difference. Yeah, I mean, and as is Glasgow. Glasgow's a beautiful, beautiful city, but we're taught to divide at a very young age, and it's kind of pathetic and ridiculous and stupid, when in fact we needn't do that. There's no reason to divide. But Edinburgh was home for 24 dark and at times miserable years. I mean, Scotland's tough. I mean, obviously my heart is there, but it's still. I mean, Scotland is tough. I mean, Scotland in the 70s was certainly tough, and Scotland in the 80s was tough, but it's dark. It rains, and obviously we're sitting in Los Angeles today, and it looks a bit rainy.
But it's kind of nice though when it rains here, isn't it? It's not like we get it 24/7. But
it's a bit like August. August in Scotland is a bit like LA in winter. It's kind of fine, really.
Do you think your tough upbringing really gave you the strength to go into the business that you went into? Because it's not easy.
And I shouldn't overplay how tough it was. It was still a relatively easy moment. But actually, I remember being at school and a kid arriving without any shoes on, and you're like going, sorry? I mean, how can we even conceive that today, when you sort of think kids were coming to school? You think, and that's Edinburgh. You think, crikey. I mean, that's nothing to be proud of, Scotland. But I mean, Scotland was. I mean, any Friday or Saturday night, if you're out, you did run the risk of getting done over.
Yeah, like a Glasgow kiss, right?
Well, exactly, or just an Edinburgh punch to the face, or a kick to the head. But you think about that today, and you sort of think, is that acceptable? Probably not. Was it understood? Yeah. Totally. I mean, it's that weird thing. I mean, again, not saying that Scotland was tough in comparison to what a lot of people are going through specifically now, but it was kind of real at times. And I don't know. You get an Edinburgh or a Scottish or even a Glasgow sense where you sort of get a bit of a spider sense for the violence that will be round the corner, not the. I mean, I don't want to start too much of a negative note, but yeah, Scotland's tough. Scotland is tough, and it's not Scotland the brave. You have to brave to be in Scotland, I think, is probably the answer. Hence, I'm not there anymore. But,
but I think, when did you, as a kid, did you always have dreams of going to America? How did that come into your life?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Really?
No real remote interest in coming to America. But
so what brought you out here then?
Well, I think it's probably the truth for a lot of people who want to move away. If you come from Edinburgh, you probably then move to London. But if you're born in London, where do you move to? You have to either go to New York or maybe Tokyo or Berlin, or you come to America and you come to LA. I've always wondered where people from LA go to, or where do people from New York go to. In Edinburgh, it wasn't, and from Scotland, it wasn't that tough to think about going somewhere else. Scotland gets you to a beautiful place in art and culture, in humanity, and in business. It gets you to a certain point, but it's not big league. It's big league, but it's not big league. And I think sometimes you have to move to progress, if not physically, even emotionally in yourself.
But I'm sure your heart will always be in Scotland. If I know the Scots, that like Rossi and everyone that's moved away, Scotland is always in their heart, and you will always be a Scots boy.
But I think it's, yes, when you cross the border, a cheer comes out on the train or on the plane as you're coming to land in Edinburgh. You sort of think, oh, thank God, and you just feel more grounded. But we all have adventures, and my current adventure is LA, and I've been here for 10 years. So
10 years, wow. It goes by very fast, doesn't it?
Like a flash. Well, apart from today, there are no seasons here. So it's
no, he hasn't lost his accent, Miss Glorious White. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Well, you don't want to lose an accent, do you? I mean,
no.
I think you've got to try and hang on to at least some of the good bits. And I think the accent is helpful. It certainly is very helpful here. But,
so when you were growing up in Scotland, what did you want to do? What did you start doing when you were like a teenager, work-wise? What was your dream, your passion?
Oh dear.
Or shouldn't I ask that question?
Well, no, you should ask away, and I will answer as truthfully as
Heard of London saying, "Oh, for goodness' sake, it's time you to come home now." And also, they like your quarantine haircut.
Yeah.
They said that.
Yes. And actually, I've just found out the next door neighbour cuts hair. So I'm as you can see, I haven't yet visited. I don't think I had a dream where you say I want to do this, but it became obvious that media and entertainment were always really quite interesting, and by going to London, that ignited that, and by then, where does one go after London? You come to either New York or LA. So it was more progressive rather than following a single passion. But it was always art and culture, which of course Scotland does really well. So it was more to do with just following multiple dreams rather than just following one.
And was going into the theatre the first one that when you went to London for?
I moved to London for a number of reasons, and I started.
Who were you running away from, Daniel?
Well, probably like us all, probably ourselves. Yes, I had tried to run away to the circus, as my friend Anna will contest.
Okay, you're 17 years old. You ran away to the circus. Let's start there.
And then ran straight back. Juggler.
Why the circus?
Juggler. I was a juggler, and I was a fire breather, and enjoyed doing all of that. And it's a great skill. And circus it's certain amount. I mean, obviously, a beautiful entertainment, a great artistry, and a great skill to it. But then, so moving to London, I found myself working for a new PR company, and their main founding client was Andrew Lloyd Webber. So I immediately got thrust into the West End, sort of at a really quite significant level, and saw my first ever musical. I had never seen one before representing Andrew. Don't tell.
Oh
me.
my God!
But and that's what happened, and I within the first week, sort of thought, well, I better go and see one, and went to see Starlight Express.
Oh my gosh.
And then
that show.
Yeah, answer me yes. But it's that kind of weird moment you go, oh, this feels kind of comfortable. And you don't necessarily, you find your home. You walk in, you go, oh, this feels like quite good fun. And at that point, and the second one I saw was the revival. It was a Jesus Christ Superstar, I think at the Lyceum at the time. The Lyceum, wherever it was at the time. And seeing that, you go, oh, that's a really good show. I really like that. And by immediately going in as Andrew's publicist, people were kind of nice to me. And that was through his reputation, not mine. And then had to prove myself. And then had to prove myself throughout all of that. And I think you and I just missed each other in our West End moments. Because when did you leave Britain?
So we left in 2000, February the 2nd, 2000 we left. It's the exact date. So kind of like 21 years. But so I was in the West End in 86, 87. So we just, as I was coming out of the theatre, coming to America, you were just going into it.
Well, yeah, and I was very much behind the scenes, thank goodness for all of it. But you wouldn't want my singing voice. And at that point, I mean, 1997, when I got to London, there was a great optimism. There was a great optimism because Tony Blair was coming in. There was on May the 11th, that Britain became a bit better. There was optimism. The money was flowing, although not always important, but it sort of was because you had opportunity. There was a positive feeling. There was Britpop. There was that whole sort of movement that it was. I think it was my brother said this to me recently. It was post HIV and pre-terrorism. And if you look at those big social sweeping points, it was actually just quite a good time to be doing stuff.
That's absolutely right. Because in the 80s, that was right there in the middle of the AIDS epidemic, and it was a heartbreaking time to be in the West End.
Yeah, absolutely. So by coming into the West End, and I see some other West End people joining us here, which is quite fun.
Yes, it's lovely.
It's the West End at that point was doing well, and Lion King had just come out. Chicago had just come out. There's a momentum of some positive feeling in slight opposite of where we are now, where everything feels a bit tough and everything feels a bit negative and things are hard to deal with, and we're all dealing with a lot. The trajectory is hopefully not downward for much longer, but it feels a bit tough. But 97, it felt optimistic. We actually had an optimistic time, and that's really lovely. So I got into the West End at a really nice time, and have some friends from that time still today, and it's it leaves its mark.
The West End is such a wonderful family, isn't it?
Yeah,
you get to know all the company directors that we loved, like dear Uncle Bob West that sadly passed away.
Yeah, and it's those moments where you do feel like you're in a bit of a family for the West End. There is people do know each other for rivalry, if not for love and friendship, and everyone sort of works together at some point. Yeah. And although my time in the work in the West End was only 4 years with Andrew, and then later on with another company for 6 years, but that a lot of the relationships I picked up with Andrew then rolled into my next job, and people still progress, and I can mention some names to you and you'd go, oh my goodness, that person, or there is a family feeling to it.
There really is. And so many incredible stars have come out of the West End theatre.
Darling.
Oh gosh. Well, I just had a lovely time doing theatre. But we're talking about like major stars, like right now, I think you have a friend on Bridgerton, right?
Well, and that was I've not watched Bridgerton yet, which is a bit embarrassing. But
you need to see it and binge it because it's phenomenal.
Is it? And I looked at it just to have a little working knowledge of it, and I saw it was Golda Roosevelt who played Mary Magdalene in Jesus Christ Superstar in '97, and I'm an untrained artist, but as a member of the public, just watching that show, the stage was hers. She could glide in a way